sprawling snow-dusted stronghold of Winterfell. A bastard boy grew up amongst lords and ladies, yet never truly one of them. Jon Snow, son of Lord Eddard Stark, also everyone believed, was an outsider from the very beginning. His lineage, a constant whispered shadow, marked him, separating him even from his beloved half-siblings. He trained alongside Robb, his elder brother in all but blood, a fierce, loyal bond forged in the training yard. He shared secrets with Arya, the wild, spirited sister who saw him for who she was, not just what she was called. And he felt the sting of Catelyn Stark's cold disdain, a constant reminder of his unwelcome presence. This was Jon's world, the familiar chill of the north, the duty-bound halls of Winterfell, and the ever-present ache of not truly belonging. His stakes were simple, yet profound: to find a place, to earn respect, to prove his worth despite the circumstances of his birth. He longed for honor, for purpose, for a life that wasn't defined by the single stinging word: bastard. His path seemed clear, if challenging. Perhaps join the Night's Watch, the ancient order guarding the realm from the horrors beyond the wall, a place where parentage mattered less than courage and commitment. Or perhaps one day earn a keep, a small parcel of land, and live out his days as a loyal bannerman to the Starks, forever serving the family that had grudgingly given him a home. This was the linear path, the understandable ambition of a young man, burdened by his birthright, seeking to carve out his own destiny within the rigid social structures of Westeros. But then came the Raven, the news of his Uncle Benjen's disappearance beyond the Wall, and with it, a decision that would shatter the predictable trajectory of Jon's life. He hadn't just considered the Night's Watch, he committed. He said his goodbyes to Winterfell, to the only home he'd ever known, and rode north towards the desolate, ice-clad fortress of Castle Black. This wasn't just a career choice, it was a renunciation of his past, a severance of all ties to the noble house that had raised him. He swore an oath, an unbreakable vow, to take no wife, hold no lands, father no children, and wear no crowns. For the Watchers on the Wall, his life was now dedicated to protecting the realms of men, no matter the cost. It was a dramatic, definitive break from the familiar, an embrace of a harsh, unforgiving existence. Yet this was only the beginning of the unexpected. Jon, the quiet, honorable bastard, found himself not just guarding the wall, but thrust into the very heart of the conflict. He went beyond the wall, lived among the wildlings, those savages he was sworn to fight. He fell in love with Ygritte, a wildling woman whose spirit was as fierce and untamed as the frozen lands they roamed. He learned their ways, understood their plight, and saw the humanity in the monsters he'd been taught to despise. This wasn't just a deviation from his oath, it was a profound, soul-shaking transformation. He walked the razor's edge between loyalty to the Night's Watch and his growing empathy for the people on the other side of the ice, a conflict that tore at his very being. He was no longer just a sworn brother, he was a spy, an infiltrator, a man caught between two worlds, his allegiances blurring with every passing day. He chose to return to the Night's Watch, but he brought with him a dangerous new understanding, a conviction that the true enemy wasn't the wildlings, but something far more ancient and terrifying. And then, the ultimate betrayal. The Night's Watch, the very brotherhood he had sacrificed everything for, turned on him. For daring to see beyond their ancient prejudices, for bringing wildlings to the wall to fight the true threat. For his radical, forward-thinking leadership, they murdered him. Jon Snow, the honorable, duty-bound bastard, lay dead, betrayed by the very men he swore to protect. The hero, the protagonist, felled by his own comrades. But that, my friends, was not the end. For in a twist that shook the very foundations of Westeros, Jon Snow was resurrected, brought back from the cold embrace of death by the fiery magic of Melisandre. He was no longer just Jon Snow. He was something more, something changed by death and rebirth. He had literally died for his cause and returned with a renewed, unshakable conviction. He had walked through the valley of the shadow of death and emerged with a clear vision. The war for the dawn, the fight against the Night King and his army of the dead was the only fight that mattered. He wasn't just a leader anymore. He was a symbol, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. He united disparate factions, brought former enemies together, and led the charge against an existential threat. He fought the living and the dead, faced unthinkable horrors, and ultimately delivered the fatal blow to the Night King, saving all of humanity. And then the final gut-wrenching punchline. After saving the world, after discovering his true parentage as Aegon Targaryen, the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, the man who was truly meant to rule, he killed Daenerys Targaryen, the woman he loved, the queen he had pledged himself to save the realm from her tyrannical descent. The ultimate act of self-sacrifice, of duty above love, of bitter necessity. He had come full circle, from an unwanted bastard to the savior of mankind, only to once again be outcast, sent back to the very place he had renounced, to the north, beyond the wall, living out his days among the free folk. His journey, one of relentless struggle, sacrifice, and unimaginable burden, ended not on the throne, but in quiet exile, a king who refused to rule, a hero who sought no glory, a man forever bound by honor and the heavy weight of his choices. He had found his place not in the gilded halls of power, but in the wild, untamed lands, finally free from the burdens of a world he had saved.